Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty and money saving. And today I thought we'd just have a little money chat about embracing frugality, stopping spending, and just developing a different money mindset. So here goes. So it's not easy to develop a frugal mindset. It's not as easy as just stopping spending. For most of us, we've been told all our lives that more is better. We live in that kind of society where you're told more is better. You've got to work more, to earn more, in order to spend more. And that is how we are trained. We're brainwashed to think that that's the way to go and that's the only way to live. So you're told you've got to get a bigger house, a better car, you've got to buy the latest gadgets, you've just got to fill your stuff with more. And then if you do those things, you'll be happy and you'll be successful and you'll be fulfilled in some way. And that's what we're told. That's the line that we are fed since we're at school. And we're told that, if you have those things, all the trappings of success, people will look up to you and they'll envy you and you'll be really happy with yourself. But it's not always like that, is it? Some of us, especially when we're a bit older and we've kind of lived that life for a while and maybe rejected that lifestyle, we realise that the more is better approach doesn't really suit many of us. So it's just not the right way for us to live. So working more hours, striving to impress your boss, trying to get a new promotion, those kind of things, they can lead you to feel really stressed, really exhausted. Your relationships might suffer. And all the time you're doing what you're supposed to do in order to feel happy and fulfilled. But you might find that you have kind of emptiness. I certainly found that when I was working full time and I was thinking I need to get a promotion and then I'll earn more money and everything will be fine. Instead of kind of scaling back and realising that I could spend less and work less. So it's just a different approach. And another problem with this approach is that quite often people are impatient to wait until they can afford those lifestyle goals that they've been sold, and they end up getting into debt. So that happens a lot. It's so common. You've either been in debt yourself or you know somebody who's been in debt. You might look successful on the surface, but underneath you might be churned up with anxiety because you have a lot of debt. You don't know how you're going to pay it, or you can pay it whilst you have a job. But what happens if you lose that job? Things are a bit fluid currently and always have been, really. No job is forever. What happens if you develop an illness and can't work for some reason? So if you've got big emergency reserves to fall back on, that's one thing, but most of us don't even have any kind of emergency fund. So it's a familiar story, isn't it? Personally, I think there is a different way to live your life, and I think there's a developing subculture of people who want to do things differently, people who aren't buying it. They're not buying the idea that you just have to work more, earn more, spend more, and keep going round and round and round on this cycle where you don't have any time for anything. So I think some people they value time. They want more time with their friends and family. They want more time to do the things that they enjoy doing. They want more time to do nothing, just to sit and think, as the old poem says. They want to struggle under a burden of debt all the time. They don't want to be worrying about these things. And increasingly, I think as well, there's a whole group of people who want to live more simply, to tread more lightly on the earth, and continuously buying more and more stuff is just creating a massive problem for the planet. So all this might mean that you, if you're trying to embrace a more frugal lifestyle, are doing it in order to work less, maybe, to live more frugally and spend less and save more for your retirement. Perhaps you want to pay off debt or retire early. Whatever your goals are, I suspect that many of you watching this are like me and you're rejecting that idea of the way we're supposed to live, and you want to do things a bit more simply, more frugally, just a bit differently. So how can you do that? How do you develop a frugal mindset? I think that just recognising that the life you've been sold is just one possible version is a good starting point. So YouTube is a really good source of inspiration when it comes to changing your mindset. It's awash with really interesting and inspirational people who live life differently, who've embraced a frugal lifestyle and chosen a different path and are really happy doing it. So you could check out perhaps what Vivi did next. And she's an ex-nurse who lives on a very small amount of money, doesn't spend very much at all on food because she grows 90% of her own food, and she lives very simply. Or Daniel at Mossy Bottom is another good one. He bought a derelict farmhouse in Ireland and with a plot, and is striving to live a more self-sufficient, almost exclusively self-sufficient lifestyle. And it's really interesting to watch his progress. But we can't all do that, and we don't all want to do that. I mean, I personally don't have the energy to live self-sufficiently, keep animals, and grow all my own fruit and vegetables. Maybe 20 years ago I could have done it that way. Although, 20 years ago, why didn't I do it that way? I did have those thoughts even then. But, it's just the idea that you can be bold and do things differently. And I don't think I was really bold enough at that point. You don't have to quit the race altogether. You don't have to completely leave. You can just choose elements of frugality that will enable you to be in control of your money, to live more simply, and just have more time to enjoy your life. So here's some ideas of how you can maybe develop a more frugal mindset and reduce your spending. So the first place to start is to make a budget. Making a budget can really transform how you look at your finances. It just seems like a faff, and I know to me it really seemed like a faff, but knowing what your income is, knowing what your outgoings are, limiting your outgoings so that you can live within your means, it's really basic to living a stress-free life. Paying down debt as well. You can make paying down debt your new hobby. There's so many people who, debt-free Dave Ramsey type community, there's so many people who will show you that you can pay thousands and thousands of pounds worth of debt down once you get into a frugal mindset. But having said that, sometimes it seems overwhelming. Maybe, you don't have a very big source of income, but you've got a lot of debt. You need to get help. So I would say Citizens Advice in the UK is a really good place to start. There's the Turn to Us website you could explore. Debt Camel's really good as well. But just, get help, get some advice. They can do you a plan and just help you. Just make sure the advice you get is free. There's no way you should have to pay for that kind of advice. Another way to develop a frugal mindset and change your money mindset and stop spending is to remove temptation. It's like somebody who's dieting. If you've constantly got a fridge full of cakes and chocolate and you're on a diet, that's too tempting. I just certainly don't have the willpower. I don't think many people do have the willpower. So it's a similar thing when you're trying to stop spending. So do things like look through your emails and see if you're subscribed to lots of retailers' email newsletters. Unsubscribe from everything, because they are just there to try and sell you something. Cancel any glossy magazine subscriptions that you have. They are selling you a lifestyle that will cost a lot of money. They're selling you that way of living where you have to work more in order just to spend more. So get rid of the glossy magazines. Stop watching TV shows about the super rich. We kind of really laud these people. We look up to them. We think they're marvellous because they're billionaires and they spend their money on stupid things. And I think, well, I don't like watching things like that, but I think it's easy to kind of get dragged into it and watch these people with their glossy lives, and then you kind of aspire to that. And for me, I don't want to aspire to that. I think if you've got that much money, you can waste it on whatever. They're wasting it on massive houses or cars, whatever it is, going up into space, for example. Then they could spend their money on doing something a lot more worthwhile. So stop window shopping. I used to go shopping with my friends and we'd just wander around town and have a coffee and window shop. And before you know it, you're buying the stuff in the window. So don't let yourself window shop. And cancel any catalogues that come through your door as well, because like newsletters. They are just there to seduce you and entice you to spend more money. I also think you need to find your tribe when you're trying to develop a frugal mindset. Quite often the people around you are behaving the way you used to behave. So they are going shopping all the time, they're going out to the cinema, they're going out to lots of things that perhaps you can't afford. They're buying lots of dresses and going on to not frugal holidays, fancy holidays. And I'm not suggesting that you give up on all your friends, not at all. Your friends are really important. But you could think about doing things differently. Maybe join a frugal community online to start with. I have a Facebook group which is a really lovely frugal community called My Second Hand and Frugal Life. I always link below. The Money Saving Expert forums are really good places for inspiration and to find people who think like you, who have the same problems that you have, who are trying to reduce their spending for one reason or another, who are practicing frugality. So just find your tribe. See if you can find them. If you can't find them in reality, then find them online. And then you can practice saying no. So it's a small but very powerful word. Just say no. If it's going to take you over budget, don't be afraid to say no. And that doesn't mean you can't do things differently. So if your kids are badgering you, we want to go to the toy shop, we want to spend money, or they're bored, or you don't know what to do with them, how about giving them a small amount of money, just a few pounds each, and saying we're going to go and buy a second-hand toy in the charity shop or at the boot sale, so that they feel that they've bought something, they've had a treat, but it hasn't cost very much money. And if you've got friends who are constantly asking you out to a restaurant for dinner and you don't want to spend that kind of money anymore, how about saying to them, well, let's have a potluck supper. You all bring a dish, somebody can do the starter, somebody can do the main course, or you can do a buffet, everybody can bring a bottle, and you can meet in somebody's house, and maybe you can start a tradition of doing that. Potluck suppers in each other's houses, you still see each other, you have nice food, good company, and you don't have to spend a fortune. And partners can be tricky. So maybe your partner will say to you, I really want to go out, I want to go to the pub, I want to go for a meal, and you feel that your budget is not up to that. I mean, it's great to try and get them on board, so explain what you're doing, explain what you're trying to achieve, because it's going to affect their finances too. And then you could suggest other options, like instead of going out for the day somewhere expensive or going out for an evening meal, you could pack a really nice picnic and make a really lovely cake, or even go and buy a cake, but it'll be cheaper than eating out. And maybe take a flask. If you want to make it fancy, you could take a couple of champagne glasses and a bottle of Prosecco with you as well, and have a really fancy picnic somewhere. Find a local beauty spot. Me and Justin do this a lot. We go and find really lovely places near to us and we have a lovely picnic. And we have been, I remember we went to Cambridge one day and it was beautifully sunny, and we sat by the river and we bought a little mini bottle of Prosecco and we drank Prosecco by the river, and it was really lovely and memorable. So you can do different things, you can still do some of similar things, but just try and change the way you do them so you don't spend so much money. When you do need to shop, whether it's in real life, going out shopping, or online, have goals. So decide what you're going to do. Have a list, a purpose and a budget, and stick with those things. Try not to be swayed by bargains, because there may be a fantastic bargain that you in the past you would have liked and thought, I really need that. Well, do you really need it just because it's a bargain? So if you don't need it, you can't afford it, just walk away. Learn to say no. It's going back to that saying no thing. So obviously, if you see a massive bargain, it's something you're saving up for anyway, then take advantage of it. But don't be swayed by bargains that you really don't need. Another thing you can do before you make any purchase is just to ask yourself how many hours work you will have to do in order to pay for that thing. So do that calculation, and that can be enough to stop you spending it. So if you work out that by buying a new TV, you have to work a full week in order to pay for it, you might decide that your old TV is just fine. Our old TV is still just about okay. A further question to ask yourself is, questions, do I really want it? Do I really need it? What will happen if I don't buy it? Because you may not need it. If you, for example, if you're shopping online and you put something in your shopping basket but don't pay for it, go away, leave it for a couple of days and then come back to it, bet you don't need it anymore. So, just be wary. Do I really want it? Do I really need it? Something else that really helped me when I was trying to develop a frugal mindset and when I was trying not to spend was with clothing. I'd think, I need something new. I didn't need anything new. I had a wardrobe full of clothes. So try shopping from your own cupboards. It doesn't have to just be clothing, it can be books or whatever. You think you need something or you want something or you feel like you need a fix. You can distract yourself by having maybe a big wardrobe declutter. Go through your wardrobe. There'll be loads of things in there you've forgotten that you bought. There may be things with labels. There'll be things you don't wear enough. Maybe you could sell them to make a bit of extra money. Same with books, who hasn't got books on their shelf that they bought fully intending to read and never got round to it? I certainly have, so I'm not going to buy any more books until I've read the ones that I've got. So that's what you can do to kind of give yourself the sense of a retail fix without actually having to spend any money at all. Shop from your own cupboards. And finally, recognise what your shopping triggers are. So, for example, are you an emotional spender? If you feel down, do you think, I'll just go and buy something to make yourself feel better? It's a bit like eating, going back to the dietist thing as well. You can be an emotional eater and you can be an emotional spender. So recognise that in yourself. Is that something that you do? Or do you shop when you're bored? You're just sitting thinking, I'm just really bored, I don't know what to do. I'll go online. Next thing you know, you spent 50 quid on Amazon. So recognise what your triggers are, and when you see them coming, distract yourself. Let's find something else to do. Let's ring a relative and have a chat, ring a friend, have a chat. Let's go out for a walk, take the dog out, or just go by yourself, take the kids out, go to the park. Distract yourself, do something different, recognise what your triggers are. So it may seem daunting to kind of develop a frugal mindset, and it is in a way. If you've been just spending recklessly for a long time, it can feel like you're depriving yourself. It can feel really boring and time consuming to think about these things. But actually, once you take a few steps, your money mindset will automatically start to change. And then you'll start to reap the benefits of doing that. So you'll start to see your debts disappearing, or you'll feel that anxiety is going because you're taking control of what you're doing. You may develop new hobbies and interests. Overall, you'll achieve real satisfaction. So that hole in your life that you've been trying to fill with buying stuff may just get filled from living your life and spending time with people and enjoying your life and doing things differently and daring to do things differently and being proud of the fact that you do. So don't be apologetic about it. You're trying to work towards goals. You're doing things the way that suits you. You've tried the other way, you didn't like it, and now you're trying something different. So don't apologise. Anyway, that's me and my money chat for today. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me the thumbs up. And if you hit the notifications bell, you will know next time I publish something. And please do subscribe if you've watched all the way through and